With this recent crypto crash, hold on for dear life. Don't sell your Bitcoin to the institutions, BlackRock, and others.
We're at that point. Long, slow capitulate my coins, man. See what happens.
And with that, what's happening, Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you with another cryptocurrency video. We have a jam-packed video, so getting straight into it. Taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart. What do we see? What do we anticipate? Bitcoin has had a meltdown. And this is Bitcoin versus the US dollar on the weekly charts. At the current time it's recording, we're coming in at 26.2K. And taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart, if we zoom into the price action, what do we see? So one thing to note is a couple things. So this is sort of a real weird period, and some people are calling for lower price actions. Some people are saying this is a buy opportunity because you can buy the dip. And look at these big candles. You have this big bullish engulfing candle. Right now at the current time it's recording, we haven't closed. This is a weekly candle, so we have this entire week to see how this candle plays out. Now, one thing to note is we had this bullish engulfing candle and then came back down and got up to this macro support line. We've been showing you this in previous videos, this blue line, and came back, broke through it, and then retested this, didn't make a higher high, and then fell back down. But one thing to note, if you look at the Gaussian channel, we still are respecting this mid-range. So will we go lower? Time will tell, but one thing we do have to note as well, that 200 moving average, which is a very, very highly respected support line. Now, just because if we get a close below it, are we going to see more price action to the downside? And then the way this RSI looks, it looks like it is putting in a high, a low, a lower high, and then at the current time it's recording, a lower low. But the price action still has not put in a lower low yet. We have to wait and see what happens with this candle. If the next candle prints a lower low and then closes, time will tell. But right now, at the current time it's recording, we have to pay attention to the middle of this Gaussian channel, which is around the 24.2K range. If we look back in the previous bear cycle in 2019, what did Bitcoin do? So Bitcoin, once it got out of the red area, it rallied up to 13.8K, then it had a cool off range. And then one thing it respected was the middle of this Gaussian channel and started to put in higher highs and higher lows. And look here, this was that pandemic dump. Now this was, we came back and then retested the top of this 200 moving average, had a brief close below it, came right back above it, and had that bounce right back above the mid-range of the Gaussian channel. So that was in 2019 going to 2020. Right now, the biggest difference is at the current time it's recording, we are below that 20 moving average. So this is something to sort of, just your antenna should be raising a little bit, because this is not something to ignore. We could see lower price action, but we have to wait and see how the upcoming weeks plays out. Taking a look at the total crypto market capitalization, what do we see? We see the same thing, and basically we zoom in, and right now we wicked below this 200 moving average, but we did this before back in May of this year. We had a close below it, actually came back up and retested it, and then blasted back above it with this bullish engulfing candle, as you see here. And the reason we call this engulfing is because you see that over the last previous candles, this is the most notable bullish candle. So one thing to note, but right now at the current time it's recording, we are sitting right at the mid-range of this Gaussian channel, but then also right around the level of the 200 moving average. But at the current time it's recording, we're below both of them. So the total crypto market capitalization on the weekly has not came out of the red area yet. It is still red. So one thing to note, we didn't quite test the top of this range at the $1.266 trillion level, but if we make this a little bit bigger and we see the higher lows and lower lows. So the low right here to pay attention to is around the $1.02 trillion mark. This range right here, because technically at the current time it's recording, we are still putting in, if this closes today and this came back up, still be putting in a higher low. But if we do break this channel and come back down, then the structure could be breaking. We could see lower price action. We can see this once again looking at the Heikin-Ashi candles on the Bitcoin chart as well. If you just see these ranges, this could be a potential bottom here around the 16.2K range. We came up and put in a high, and that first high was around the 23.9K range. Then we came back down, putting a low. We're looking at the candle bodies, not the wicks. The wicks is just noise, but you can look at either or. Either one's going to tell you the same story. Then we came back up and put a high after putting that previous low at 23.9. This new high was up to 29.2. And then we came back down and then made a low of roughly around 25.7K. Even with this wick below, we had the wick, but if you look at the wick still didn't come lower than the previous wick, which was around 24.7K. This one went down to 25.2K. So the candle bodies, we came up, put a higher high in, and then this candle body right now, this is the logarithmic chart. And then taking a look at the linear chart, you see the same price action, and we're still above that 200 moving average on the weekly. We'd like to look at this on the logarithmic growth chart, so we could be just seeing Bitcoin continuing to stair step its way up here with a bounce off, here with a bounce off, and then are we going to come down to this 200 moving average before we see that next leg up? Are we going to just continue to see this, or are we getting ready to roll over? Is Bitcoin going to do something like this, put in a lower high, and then roll over and see lower price action? Either way could play out, but looking down here at the RSI, it did touch the 70 range and then put in a lower high. And right now, the current time is recording, we are technically putting in a lower low. But one thing to note, we never got into this extremely overbought territory. Like right back down here where this was red, we didn't see anything up here where it'd be marked as green. So this is a time we get to just sit and wait. It is a dollar cost averaging opportunity because, as you see, anytime you can get discounted Bitcoin is definitely a good buying opportunity. And taking a look at an update from El Crypto Prof, what's he saying? Bitcoin marks the lowest RSI in over 20 months on the daily chart, and at the same time hits support line that was resistance over almost a year. Each time the RSI has been less than 30, the price of Bitcoin has risen between 28 and 60% afterwards. So he's saying no reason to be bearish. So if you look at this line here, it acted as resistance, resistance, one time flipped from resistance to support, put a wick low, and then another resistance to support, and the RSI each time has been less than 30. So you see, when you have that RSI less than 30, what happens? Blast off makes the price action go up, most definitely. Stockman Lizards is saying this is just accumulation period before the halving, new all-time high after the halving, and rinse repeat. 2012 and 16 and 20 mirror each other. 2024 is no different. We could see a little bit more price action to the upside before having that cool off going to the halving, and then a new all-time high after mid to late 2024. So what's your guys' take on this? Do you guys think that Bitcoin is going to be just keep stair-stepping its way up? Are we going to see new lows? There's a lot of people calling for new lows. The Bitcoin board rows think of this as a buying opportunity. Now, once again, depending on what the Federal Reserve does and if they're going to continue to aggressively rate hike, or if they're going to cool off or just stop, that can make a play in the market. But either way, you cut the cloth. Right now, it's not a bad time. Just keep DCAing in and seeing where the market takes you. But one thing's for certain, if history's any indication, patience is a virtue, and that halving is next year. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. If you guys like this content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate the support. With that, that's all I have for you today. And I'm out.